Martin Celebrity Roast, coming to you from the MGM Grand Hotel in the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Ladies and gentlemen, from the beautiful Ziegfeld Room, tonight's star-studded roast has brought together some of the world's greatest entertainers. They've come from all over the world to be here tonight, here in Las Vegas, in person.
Your roastmaster, Dean Martin. And tonight's very special man of the week, Truman Capote.
Tonight, it's with great pride that we honor one of the great authors of our time, who is most remembered for his book, In Cold Blood. I'm proud to say I own a copy of the book. I didn't buy the book. I got it free. It came inside a box of Chung King's frozen egg rolls. Though Truman was born in poverty, he now owns a home in Palm Springs, a home in New York, a home in Southampton, and a home in Switzerland. And he did it the hard way. He doesn't know B.B. Rebozo. Truman is proof of the American dream, born on a farm in Louisiana. He had a tragic childhood. His father was a farmer, and the government paid his father not to raise Truman. But he fought to get an education. He knew that in the South, you cannot vote if you're illiterate, but you can get elected. Truman has been accused of being a social snob, and rightly so. He's so classy, he never goes to the bathroom. But he's kind and generous. One time he gave a surprise party for his black maid, Myrtle Bennett, at the most exclusive restaurant in New York. Not only that, he had Myrtle brought to the party in a chauffeur-driven subway. I don't know whether many of you know this, but the TV series The Waltons is based on Truman's early life. As a matter of fact, Truman expected someone from the Walton family to be here. When he came in to the studio tonight, the first thing he said to me was, "Where's the John, boy?" It's a pleasure now for me to introduce Ted Knight. Ted certainly had an influence on the Mary Tyler Moore show. He's the one who made Mary Tyler Moore Mary Tyler less. Ladies and gentlemen, a fine character actor and comedian, Mr. Ted Knight.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. You know, I must say in all candor, I've been a great admirer of Truman ever since he beat Dewey. Oh, only kidding. I know you're not the one who beat Dewey. Well, your brother, right? You know, to look at Truman Capote, you'd never guess what kind of guy he really is. I mean, on the surface, he seems like a shy, quiet, introverted intellectual, right? But as we insiders all know, in actuality, he's quite different. Truman Capote is the biggest stud in Hollywood. It's true. We all know this. It's inside. Raquel Welch calls him her little chicken delight. That's because he always delivers. And who do you think was responsible for the breakup between Liz and Dick? Oh, yes. He laughs, but he knows. Dick was so shocked when he found out about Liz and Truman. You know, for 10 years, he thought it was a Mexican hairless lying at the foot of the bed. Oh, yes, it's true. Truman, you devil. Yes, as every leading lady in Hollywood knows, Truman Capote is not only a literary giant. Thank you.
Joining us tonight is one of the top literary critics in America, a great admirer of our Man of the Week. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Saturday Review of Literature, here's Miss Roberta Cush.
Thank you, Dean. And good evening, lovers of distinguished novels. Or, as Dean would say, hello, bookies. Truman Capote was destined to be a novelist. He learned to write on his mother's knee. They were very poor and they couldn't afford paper. But he is living proof that in America you can grow up to be anything that you want. And as a boy, Truman wanted to be Betty Davis. In reviewing Truman's work, a critic must learn to read between the lines because the lines themselves are so dull. Now, in his first book, Other Voices, Other Rooms, you will find 130 of the most exciting pages that you have ever read. And I want to tell you something. 130 out of 1,000 is not bad. The book is self-admittedly an autobiography of Mr. Capote, and I confess I liked everything in it except the hero. And Mr. Capote has twice received the O. Henry Short Story Award, mainly because he is the only person shorter than an O. Henry bar. And twice as nutty. I just finished the galley proofs of your new book, Truman, and I want to tell you I am going right straight home and burn my library card.
That was Miss Audrey Meadows, very funny lady. Thank you, Audrey. Donald O'Connor was really born in a trunk. He was so young when he went on the stage they changed him more often than the scenery. Ladies and gentlemen, a great performer and a paid-up member in the Screen Actors Guild, Mr. Donald O'Connor.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you. I just have a few notes here, ladies and gentlemen. You know, Truman Capote is known as one of America's great writers. He's the man who gave us the wonderful book, Other Voices, Other Rooms, the story of the Watergate Hotel. And the literary world will never forget The Grass Harp, the story of a crazy musician who tried to make a musical instrument out of a funny cigarette. And, of course, we'll always remember Truman's greatest work in Cold Blood. That's where Jack Benny gathers his household staff together and reads them their Christmas card. Then there were the screenplays Truman created for Pedro's porno productions of Tijuana. Tilly and the Butler, Millie and the Electrician, Millie and Tilly and the Butler and the Electrician. Meet Ted and Carol and Bob and Alice. It was a wonderful thing he did. However, Truman was forced to quit when the studio went bankrupt and auctioned off their entire inventory of masks and black socks. I don't know about you, but this is killing me. See you later.
No matter who we're roasting, it's always nice to have Rich Little with us. He's the best impressionist there is. Last week, he did a great impression of Frank Sinatra. He was going real good until he ran out of vitamin E. Ladies and gentlemen, a wonderful comedian and a great, well, the greatest, Mr. Rich Little.
Thank you. No. Truman Capote has said many times publicly that actors are not too bright. Now, maybe the reason for that is that he has a deep-seated desire to be an actor himself. And I'll go along with that. I mean, I think there's a lot of parts that Truman here could have played. For instance, I think he would have made a very interesting Hamlet.
To be or not to be. That's always been my question.
You know, I think Truman would have made a great Sergeant Stryker in the movie Sands of Iwo Jima. Unfortunately, it went to an actor by the name of John Wayne. But to me, it will always be a Truman Capote picture.
All right, man. Listen and listen tight. Tonight, you're going on a very dangerous mission. As a matter of fact, it could be quite nasty. You're going to hit those beaches. You're going to hit those beaches, and it's going to be rough and tough all the way. This ain't no high school picnic. It's going to be murder out there. Golly, I wish I could be going with you.
Thank you, Fritz Little. That's why he's the greatest. Joseph Wambaugh is a Los Angeles police officer who also writes bestsellers like The Blue Knight, The New Centurions, and The Onion Field. He's so prolific that they just published all the speeding tickets he's issued. Ladies and gentlemen, here is badge number 178, Detective Sergeant Joseph Wambaugh.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Dean. Few people know what a warm spot law enforcement officers have for Dean Martin, seriously. Whenever we need decorations for a policeman's ball, we can always stop him on the freeway and have him blow up balloons for us. But I'm here today to talk about Truman Capote, and I haven't heard such tributes to a man's background since I left the Vice Squad. But really, I respect Truman Capote. In my opinion, he's the greatest male literary figure since Jackwell and Suzanne. But beyond being the great author and literary second-guesser, Truman is also famous for his work in prison reform, as you all know. He's done many shows from penal institutions. He's on such good terms with the prisoners, he calls them by their first number. And all the long-termers in prison say, I'm in for 20 years to life. What are you in for? Truman says, companionship.
Thank you, Joseph. Truman, a lot of your friends and admirers couldn't be here tonight, but they sent some wires. No telegrams, just wires. Now, the first one says, Dear Mr. Capote, last year I read your book In Cold Blood, and now That's how I cook everything, signed Count Dracula. This next one is from the Kitty Craft Manufacturing Company. It reads, Dear Sir, we are pleased to inform you that we are naming our new kitty toilet training device after you. We call it the Truman Capote. Ladies and gentlemen, still a champion in my book, Mr. Rocky Graziano.
Dean, thank you very much. I've been listening to you talk. I had 125 fights. What's your excuse? Well, I don't stand here with this here fisticuffing, but as a literarian, some of you literates out there may remember my first novel, Somebody Up There Likes Me. My next book is going to be called Nobody Down There Likes Me, as told to Rocky Graziano by Richard Nixon. But tonight, I'd like to talk about another great storyteller, Truman Capote. Look at him. He's so cute. Look at that baby face. When I meet him, I want to burp him. I will do it. When he first came to me, he wanted to be a fighter. So I told him all I know about alley fighting and street fighting. As a result, he decisioned 3 alley cats and got a draw with a streetwalker. There's a lot of good writers of fiction, but nobody handles prose like he does, except maybe Dean. He went out with a couple of them the other night. I read his first draft, and I was struck by his subtlety of his style, and the discipline of his dialogue, and the formula of his form. But I predict great things for the kid. Someday he's going to win the Pulitzer Prize. You go over his bibliography, and you're going to admit he's got one of the greatest bibbies of all time. In conclusion, I don't care what these clowns say about you, Truman. I always thought you were a great president.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Grace, Beauty, and Charm, the very talented actress, Miss Jean Simmons.
It was Truman who, on a TV network, said in cold blood, actors are dumb and boring. I don't know how old you are, love, but one of your contemporaries, as witty and wise and just as alive as you are right now, said, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. So, either Truman Capote is one of us dumb, boring people, or he'll have to get the hell off this glorious global stage.
We're very pleased to have with us tonight the warden of the penitentiary where Truman has been conducting his research. Ladies and gentlemen, would you all please welcome Warden Foster Brooks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martin. Incidentally, your Uncle Rocco sends his best regards. I've gotten to know Truman Capote. I've gotten to know Truman Capote very, very well. Every week he comes to my prison and talks to my... he talks to... What do you call them? Those fellows dress up like zebras? Huh? You're a warden, too? All of the prisoners have grown very fond of Truman. And they really love his book. Especially since we've been having a shortage of supplies in the washrooms. Now, it doesn't matter whom Truman is interviewing, a mugger, an arsonist, a murderer. He always asks very searching and penetrating questions, like, if you had your life to live over, would you live it as a blonde? But Truman Capote is not only interested in reporting the facts, he has a deep humanitarian interest in the rehabilitation of all types of criminals. I once asked him what he thought I should do for my pimps. He told me I should try Clearasil.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to hear a few words from our man of the week, America's giant of the literary world, Mr. Truman Capote.
To me at all. I think I should just rush out there and call my lawyer. However, to put a good surface on it, thank you, Mr. Martin. I've enjoyed so much being your victim of the week. I understand this part of your program really goes over big, like a pregnant woman pole vaulting. Before the show, Mr. Martin asked me if I'd like to write the complete story of his sexual prowess. But I told him I don't write short stories anymore. First off, I'd like to acknowledge the talented Audrey Meadows, who's married to my friend, the president of Continental Airlines. Earlier today, she was wearing brilliant yellow slacks. Talk about your proud bird with the golden tail. And I'm glad to see Joe Wambow here tonight. Out of uniform and out of material, too. And what a thrill it is to meet Buster Frooks. Did I get that right? Actually, Buster only drinks when he's worried. You can tell from his material that he's going to get bombed right after the show. As for Rocky Graziano, as you all know, Rocky was the boxer. I had a boxer once, too, and he also was quite a drooler. Actually, though, Rocky is a wonderful chap. He made $1 million fighting. It's a shame that it cost that much to fix all those fights. In conclusion, I'd like to say that you've all made me feel very much at home. My home is in Palm Springs, and nothing exciting ever happens there either. had any sense at all, you'd have turned your sets out long ago and started reading my new book, The Dog's Bark. Thank you and good night.
That's our show for tonight. I want to thank all my wonderful guests for being here, and a special thanks to Mr. Truman Capote. As you know, Mr. Capote's life inspired the TV show The Waltons, the story of a poor family living on a ranch whose one ambition is to beat Flip Wilson in the ratings. Good night, everybody. On my way home, Catherine, roll up the hot chocolate.
Dean Martin Celebrity Roast, coming to you from the MGM Grand Hotel in the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Ladies and gentlemen, from the beautiful Ziegfeld Room, tonight's star-studded roast has brought together some of the world's greatest entertainers. They've come from all over the world to be here tonight, here in Las Vegas, in person.
Your roastmaster, Dean Martin. And tonight's very special man of the week, Leo DeRosa.
Okay there, Leo boy. Well, what a thrill it is to have in our presence this evening a man who has contributed so much to baseball, a man who is loved by everybody, but enough about Maury Wells. Let's talk about Leo DeRosa. This is the kind of evening that brings happiness to so many people, especially those that didn't show up. Looking at this audience tonight, Leo realizes you can't buy friends. All these people tonight are not bought. They're rented. Although Leo's retired, he'll remain a legend in baseball. He's done more good for baseball players than Mamie Van Doren. Baseball was the only thing Leo ever knew. As a matter of fact, Leo's father was a baseball player. Leo was his first heir. Leo started his career as a shortstop for the New York Yankees in 1925, and the very first year he set a record that has never been broken. Not once did he cut himself during a shaving commercial. In 1940, he was named manager of the Brooklyn Ball Club. It was Leo who brought real togetherness to the Dodgers. Sometimes you'd find 3 base runners on second base. I wouldn't say Leo did a bad job down in Houston, but the Astro fans have a new slogan. Remember the Alamo and forget Leo. Tonight's dais looks like the Hall of Fame of the sports world, so let's kick off with the great Maury Wills. Maury's the #1 base runner in history. Statistics show that he's been thrown out at home 4 times, 3 times by his wife. Ladies and gentlemen, the candidate for baseball's Hall of Fame, Mr. Maury Wills.
Thank you, Dean. Not you, Dizzy. I'm doing the NBC baseball games of the week now, partner. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to honor Leo DeRocher, a man who makes Howard Cosell look like an introvert. You know, people oftentimes accuse Leo of being cruel and cold-hearted. But let me tell you a little story that I think illustrates the warmth of this man. I was just a young player with the Dodgers at the time, and we were on the road down south. And one night, Leo decided to take some of the guys out for dinner. When we arrived at the restaurant, we were informed that blacks were not served. But Leo took care of that right away. Leo turned to me, and I'll never forget his words. He said, "Boy, you wait out in the car, and we'll bring your doggy back when we're through." No, of course, I'm only kidding. When Leo was manager, there were no prejudices on his ball club. Leo treated blacks and whites the same, miserably. Leo was a shortstop just like me. We played the same position. And when I was a kid, he was really my idol. And unlike a lot of players today, believe me, Leo was a rough and tumble ball player. I remember one time Leo ran home and the umpire didn't like the way he slid into the plate. It was his upper. But I can say one thing honestly, though. Leo has, except for a few things here and there, he's always been kind to his players. Take Willie Mays, for instance. Leo's always treated Willie like a son. In fact, the paternity suit proved it. Is Leo laughing or is he coming up here? But I like to go on record as saying in closing, Leo, that I honestly feel that in baseball, you're the greatest manager in the history of the game. And baseball and I owe you a lot.
Thank you, Maury. Now, here's the guy who's responsible for making tennis so popular, Mr. Bobby Riggs. There's been a story on Bobby in every magazine recently, and he made the cover of Time, and years ago, life gave him a big spread. At his age, life has a way of doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, the king of women's tennis, Mr. Bobby Riggs.
Thanks, Dean. Normally, I don't do functions like this. But yesterday, I received this letter from Leo DeRocher. Leo doesn't know I'm going to read this, but I thought it would shed some kind of light on the man that you're honoring tonight. Here goes for the letter. Dear Bobby, you and I have been friends for a long time, and I hate to ask a favor of you, but I'm desperate. The Dean Martin Show is roasting me as their man of the week, and you've got to bail me out. I'm only doing it because I need the money after betting on you. I just received a list of the people on the dais, and you wouldn't believe who they stuck me with. Now get this, Jack Carter. I didn't know that guy was still alive. So you can see I really need you, Bobby. Not that you'll add any class to the evening, but you're such a loser, you'll make all the other guys look better by comparison. So here I am, Leo.
Well, here is truly a legend in baseball, Mr. Dizzy Dean. Dizzy was one of Leo's teammates with the old St. Louis Cardinals gas house gang. And he was one of baseball's greatest pitchers. Not only could he pitch a fastball, but he could pitch a ball so slow that the players could autograph it before it reached the plate. Ladies and gentlemen, a big name in baseball's Hall of Fame, Mr. Dizzy Dean.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you very much. Boy, the way you put that booze away, I bet I'm not the only Dean who's dizzy around here tonight.
his first game with the Cards, Leo was playing shortstop, and the runner was caught between second and third. The third baseman threw Leo the ball and yelled, "Tag him, tag him." Leo yelled back, "Why? I'm not it." Leo really has a great arm, though. There's no question about that. I don't know how many times I've seen him throw the ball into the right field stands. But nobody cared about Leo's fielding because he really knew how to hit the ball. He was a switch hitter, and in his very first year he hit 400, 200 right-handed and 200 left-handed. Leo was a real clutch player. In fact, he was arrested 3 times in the subway for it. He was absolutely fearless at the plate. Once Carl Hubble threw a fastball that bounced right off of Leo's head, and Leo just stood there and smiled. Naturally, it was the furthest he'd hit the ball all season. And did you know that it was because of Leo DeRosa that they had to adopt the infield fly ball? Whenever an infielder was trying to catch the ball Leo hit, Leo would yell out, "Hey, buddy, your fly's open." But the thing I'll always remember most about Leo was his competitive spirit. One time when he was at shortstop, there was a high bouncing ball. And I swear Leo leaped 8 feet in the air. And if I told you where the ball hit him, you'd know why.
Ladies and gentlemen, a former Major League ball player and now a great actor, Mr. Chuck Connors.
Oh, thank you, Dean. And it's a pleasure to be here again at the end of the lineup with all the bad jokes. Anyway, as some of you may or may not know, and probably don't know, I was with the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1949. Now, this is not funny, lady. This is the truth. I was a few years after Leo left. See, I'm a lot younger than he is. But the players on the team who were still there remembered Leo, and they were always talking about you, Leo. But the most interesting thing they told me about Leo DeRosa was the unique system of signals he used when he was coaching third base. I'm going to see if I can remember some. This one means hit away. This one means take the pitch. This one means, oh, I'm sorry, I ate that whole tooth. This means, let's see, bunt. This means hit away again. And this means, 17 less hairs than yesterday morning. None today. Let's see now. This means slide. This means head for home. And this means, hey, your zipper's open. Finally, there's one signal that Leo originated that's being used by every coach on third base in Major League Baseball today. And it's this, watch. And it means, go get this damn inning over with. I gotta go to the John.
Ladies and gentlemen, a man who made history with the Detroit Lions, Mr. Alex Carey.
If I have a reputation for anything outside of my obvious physical charms and my overpowering sex appeal and my intelligence, it's for being totally candid. If I were to tell you that I'm not too thrilled about being asked to speak on behalf of Leo DeRosa tonight, that would be a little short of the truth. Matter of fact, I'm sick about it. But I only had 2 other offers this week. one to speak at a Republican rally, and the other to appear in a movie. They're doing a retake of The Naked and the Dead, and they want me to play both parts. It's very difficult to say something nice about Leo and maintain my own impeccable reputation for honesty, Leo. Let's face it, Leo, it's hard to compliment you. You busted out in Chicago, busted out in Houston. You want to talk about the records as a player, Leo? How about the records as you had as a player? He played in the major leagues from 1925 to 1945. That's 10 years. He had a lifetime batting average of 247. Hell, I played it that way, Leo. You heard of the Ted Williams shift? Well, they had one for Leo. The pitcher played in. I like that joke regardless if anyone else does. Leo, you were small, but you were slow. If you put Leo into a race against a tree, you'd have to bet odds on the tree. Especially after a dog lick. Leo played with the old Gas House gang. Well, I'll tell you, they could do everything with the baseball. Right, Leo? Except autograph it. A lot have been said and written about Leo's reported run-ins with the players. And, you know, I'm from Chicago. I understand these things. Throughout my great career, I've always believed in showing the proper respect for coaches, Leo. I mean, I can't understand, you know, when they say, let's hang him in effigy. Is that the right word? I mean, if you're going to have a hanging, Leo, let's have a hanging. I thought probably a lot of these reports were blown out of proportion about the players not getting along with you. Excuse me. So I researched the issue thoroughly, and just let me say that this to you, Leo, and I mean this in honest sincerity, face to face, man to man. No matter how many nasty things have been said about you, Leo, by writers and by broadcasters, players and owners, vending machine operators, jock supporter manufacturers, and fans and umpires and vending, I said that. I'd like to say this to you, Leo, in all sincerity. You could count your real enemies on the fingers of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir.
Leo, a lot of your friends and admirers couldn't be here tonight, but they sent a load of telegrams, and I'd like to read a few of them right now here. The first one reads, Dear Leo, I understand you once said that nice guys finish last. I couldn't agree more. Signed, Mae West. Dear Mr. DeRocha, we wish to thank you for advertising our product every time you disagree with an umpire. Signed, the Acme Natural Fertilizing Company. Jack Carter really needs no introduction. What he needs is an act. Ladies and gentlemen, a man who's done for comedy what Charlie Finley's done for baseball, Mr. Jack Carter.
Thank you. And Alex, that was a great speech. We'll invite you again when Nixon gives a dinner for Judge Sirica. I am so choked up to be here. What a night between Leo DeRocha and Dean Martin. Here they are, lippy and nippy, huh? Incidentally, you know, Dean just willed his body to science, but I got a feeling that the Gallo brothers will get it first. Yes, I'm so choked up. All of my idols are here. Look at these athletes, Dizzy Dean and Chuck Connors and Maury Wills. I haven't seen such great bodies since I won Truman Capote on the dating game. But I love baseball. I followed it all my life. As a kid in Brooklyn, the Dodgers, the Giants, the Yankees. I remember when they had white outfielders. And Leo's a champion of the black cause. He brought a lot of Negroes into baseball, and it wasn't easy. First time he put Maury Wills in the outfield, he kept rolling up the grass and smoking it. That's why they put him in the infield. He couldn't hold onto a fly if his zipper was caught. Maury Wills, Mr. Holdout, every year, I'm holding out, I'm holding out. He could hold out longer than Doris Day would in a movie. And I didn't get to mention my boy Chucky Connors, the big tall one, the odd couple all by himself. I just made that up. Chuck Connors, there he is, a Dodger, former Dodger, tax and draft. All the big, and my man, Dean, Desert Dean, I love him. Son of a gun, 20 years with the old Cardinals, and it ain't easy running around a baseball field in those long robes, I'll tell you. Remember that one? I loved him. And then he became a sportscaster. When I was a kid, turned on just to hear Dizzy going, now well about North Thumb. Yes, love the third base, the more hit the ball and speed two down, one down, more side. Down, both of them, one side, more never going down, one side. And ball, one, two, home, one side. I was in the Army at the time. I thought we were captured, you know? He was a white Negro, I tell you that. And Bobby Riggs, laugh, you idiot. I laugh when you play. But we're here to talk about my man, Leo the Lip. Leo DeRocher, a man who's been maligned, punched, beaten, spit out, and rightly so. 2 words describe this man's life: assault and battery. Always loud-mouthing. He came back from Texas, he was mad. He was in a polo lounge at the Beverly Hills Hotel saying, boy, it's good to be back in Beverly Hills. I hate that crummy Texas and that Houston. Ain't nothing there but football heroes and hookers. Big guy grabbed him. Listen, buddy boy, my wife comes from Texas. Leo said, oh, really? What position does she play? In final closing, I'd like to repeat the words of Howard Cosell, a great sportcaster. A couple of weeks ago at a big sports writers' dinner, he said this about Leo. Ladies and gentlemen, our subject, DeRocher, a maudlin relic of a bygone era, but a living legend. When giants trod the earth and Dodgers cut them down, the maniacal, masochistic DeRocher played the game. He could go to his left, he could go to his right, but he never went to his pocket. As a leader of men, one word describes him adequately: senile. But that's DeRocher, a big talker and no batting average. My wife's got more runs in her pantyhose. But seriously, I've said some horrendous things about Leo, but he is a living monument to baseball. And you all know what pigeons do to monuments. Thank you, and good night.
Beautiful, Jack. Oh, that was beautiful. He imitated you real good. I love to listen. Never could understand you, but I love you. And now, Leo, we are pleased to have with us one of the most respected umpires in the National League. He worked behind the plate in many of the games your teams played. Ladies and gentlemen, would you all please welcome Mr. Foster Brooks.
Thank you very much, Thank you, Dean. Friends, it is indeed a pleasure for me to be here tonight to honor the one and only Leo the Cockroacher. What's that? DeRocher? Well, I knew it was some sort of a little bugger. It's also a real thrill for me to be here on the same day. Be here on the same day. Speaker's platform with the great Hank Aaron. What? Maury Will? Well, you'll have to excuse me, because all those Puerto Rican ball players look the same. Yes, Leo. Leo Drosser is a truly fine baseball manager. Probably one of the 300 or 400 best of all time. Leo doesn't scare me once when Sandy Koufax, when old Sandy Koufax was pitching against his team, Leo came running out of the dugout and said, "Grease ball, grease ball." I told him, "Don't be ridiculous. Sandy is Jewish." And he's a man of very diverse interests. He's especially interested in genealogy, the study of people's family trees. Until I first met Leo, I always thought I was the son of a waitress. Because as Leo well knows, there's one cardinal rule in baseball. An umpire never changes his call. Unless there's a broad in it for her.
He always puts me away. Ladies and gentlemen, nice guys don't always finish last, because our man of the week is right up on top. One of the great managers of all baseball, Mr. Leo Durocher. Give you a lot of time.
This evening's been about as exciting as watching Marcus Welby sidestep a bedpan. I'd like to correct one impression you may have gotten tonight. I'm retired, not deceased. As a matter of fact, they wanted me to manage the Oakland A's next year. But I hired a lawyer and I beat the rap. However, it's nice being here, and it's nice to see a few people on the dais who aren't in show business. Maury Wills, Dizzy Dean, Jack Carter. I don't know whether many of you are aware of this, but Chuck Connors, who is now an actor, used to be a big league ball player. And he's just as good an actor as he was a ball player. He struck out in both. Chuck was with the Dodgers for a short time, and he did for baseball what he did for TV. He never had a hit. And it's nice to see Maury Wills. Well, first time I met Maury, he was just a kid hanging around the ghetto in the playground, and so I put a bat in his hand, and I said, "Do you know what this is for?" He said, "Yes, sir." And he hit me over the head and stole my wallet. And it's really a thrill having my old buddy Dizzy Dean with us. Baseball fans will never forget him. Dizzy couldn't hit, but he sure could throw it. And I'm glad that Alex Carr showed tonight. one of the greatest defensive tackles football's ever known. He started out as an offensive tackle. Then he learned about deodorant pads. And what can I say about Dean? You don't run into guys like Dean too often. You generally trip over them. In conclusion, I'd just like to say I've enjoyed every minute I ever spent in baseball. Baseball is truly the great American pastime. Now all we got to do is convince Frank Sinatra.
I want to thank all my wonderful guests for being with us tonight, and my special thanks to Leo DeRocher. All of us here tonight chipped in and laid a new car on Leo. It took him 3 hours to get out from under it. Good night, everybody. Catherine, warm up, hot chocolate, be home soon. Bye.
Celebrity Roast, coming to you from the MGM Grand Hotel in the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Ladies and gentlemen, from the beautiful Ziegfeld Room, tonight's star-studded roast has brought together some of the world's greatest entertainers. They've come from all over the world to be here tonight, here in Las Vegas in person.
Your roastmaster, Dean Martin. And tonight's very special Woman of the Week, Miss Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Thank you. Well, tonight we salute Zsa Zsa, the most famous of the Gabor sisters. You all know the Gabor sisters, the original gold diggers. Poor Zsa Zsa, she never had a childhood. She went right from kindergarten to the marriage bureau. She's been married so many times, she's got Uncle Ben on a retainer. She got so many wedding rings on her finger. When I kissed her hand tonight, I thought I was kissing a package of lifesavers. Doesn't Zsa Zsa look great? It's a wonder she's alive after all the blood tests she's taken for marriage licenses. I love your dress, but too much cleavage.
I thought you loved things like
No,
that.
it looks like the Golden Arches over McDonald's. But I'm sure everyone will agree that Zsa Zsa is quite a woman. They even published a book about her life, but the author wasn't the first one to capture her between covers. Men have always found her irresistible. The very first time Conrad Hilton met Zsa Zsa, he proposed. The second time, he proposed marriage. It's true, and her marriage to Conrad Hilton didn't last too long. She married him at noon. Divorced him at 2 because checkout was at 3. Zsa Zsa, there's a lot of your friends and admirers who couldn't be here tonight, but they've sent you some telegrams, and I'd like to read some of them. First one. It comes from Senator Sam Ervin. Dear Zsa Zsa, will you marry me? I think I could show you a few new wrinkles.
I don't...
Oh, we're appreciate it. This next reads, Zsa Zsa, darling, it was so sweet of you to loan me your pink chiffon gown tonight. I just hope it looks as nice on me as it does on you. Signed, Truman Capote. There's one from the Immigration Department of the Virgin Islands. Dear Ms. Gabor, in answer to your recent inquiry, you don't have to in order to become a citizen. I think Donald O'Connor starred in some of the greatest musicals ever made in Hollywood, and I loved him when he worked with Francis the Talking Mule. But one day they broke up. The mule felt that Donald was holding him back. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Donald O'Connor.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And, Dean, I came here tonight to make a confession. You see, this is something I've kept secret for many years. Ladies and gentlemen, I was once married to Zsa Zsa Gabor. Well, to this day, I remember every detail of that wedding ceremony. The preacher said to Zsa Zsa, "Do you take this man?" And she said, "Yes, darling, for everything he's worth." Well, I guess so. But what a wedding night that was, and I thought Francis the Mule was stubborn. But we bought an idyllic little cottage and settled down. And then one day I came home from work, and there was Zsa Zsa in her easy chair knitting tiny little booties. I said, "Zsa Zsa, does this mean that soon there will be the patter of little feet running around the house?" And she said, "Yes, darling, I'm dumping you for Willie Shoemaker." And I want to thank you, Zsa Zsa. You're lovely, and you're precious, and you're darling, and I'm happy to be here, and I'll have your check for you on Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you, Donald. Zsa Zsa, as a surprise to you, we've brought your personal hairdresser all the way from the old country. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome for Charles of Warsaw.
The family, thank you. The family that sprays together stays together. Now there she sits, ladies and gentlemen, in all her glory, as usual, surrounded by handsome men. That's why I like to hang around. It gives me a chance to pick up the stragglers. No, seriously, I am just mad about primping Zsa Zsa's hair. And I've primped all the crowned heads of Europe. In fact, I'm known as the... No, it's true. I am known... I might do Vegas. I am known as the biggest in Budapest. Look at it, ladies and gentlemen. Gorgeous. And there she sits, queen of all she surveys. And I say that as an expert on queens. Zsa Zsa, you may never have tried to fool Mother Nature, but you certainly have Father Time going bananas.
In Hollywood, there are two main trade papers, Daily Variety and The Hollywood Reporter, and there's one news and gossip column that everybody in show business reads. I know. I read it every morning to find out if I'm still happily married. It's written by a lady called Sue Cameron. She's a columnist who really knows how to get a story. In fact, she was the first one who found out that Liz and Dick were drifting apart. She was lying in bed between them at the time. Ladies and gentlemen, Sue Cameron.
Debbie Reynolds says that Zsa Zsa is the most fantastic housekeeper in the world. It's true. Absolutely true. Every single time she gets a divorce, she always keeps the house. Seriously, though, you know, when anybody becomes famous like Zsa Zsa, people do get jealous. And that really explains a lot of the nasty rumors about her that you hear. As a reporter whose job it is to sort out fact from fiction, and I really do, I happen to know that these rumors are absolutely false, and I would like to take this opportunity to lay a few of those vicious stories to rest. It's true. First of all, it is not true that during World War II, Zsa Zsa had a British secret agent in her bosom. Nor is it true that she has towels in her bathroom reading Hers and Whoever. You like that idea, right? It is not true, also, that Zsa Zsa was kicked out of high school for getting 3 boys in trouble. And finally, it is absolutely untrue that Zsa Zsa Gabor marries men for their money. She has better ways of getting it.
Well, I'm not going to say anything unkind about Miss Cameron, out of respect, out of admiration, and out of fear. Next, we have Corbett Monica. Corbett's career is really picking up speed. So does anything that's going downhill. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Corbett Monica.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the dais, honored guest, as you can see, the function of this panel is to roast, to rib, to take pot shots at the honored guest. Usually the recipient is a man. It makes that task much easier. However, tonight we have a woman. And for me to stand here and take pot shots at a lady like Zsa Zsa Gabor, it's going to be such a pleasure. I've been waiting to get this broad on a television show where she can't talk back. The thing that amazes me about her tonight is she's been here 10 minutes and hasn't reported a robbery yet. The last time she got robbed, the thief stole her credit card. Her husband didn't report it because he claimed the thief is spending less than Zsa Zsa. But let us give credit where credit is due, ladies and gentlemen, to the mother, Jolie, who raised 3 children, Eva, Magda, and Zsa Zsa. An actress, a housewife, and a diamond expert. Can you imagine these 4 women once lived together all at the same time? I heard the battles were so big in that house that Bob Hope went over to entertain. And look at you, Zsa Zsa, sitting there.
I don't know if I want you to look at me.
Which reminds me, I have to go to the mountains next week. Look at Zsa Zsa sitting here, famous, beautiful, wealthy. How you must be laughing at those people that said you'd be through when Talking Pictures came in. And so to you ladies out there, I leave you in the great words of Zsa Zsa Gabor. If your boyfriend breaks the engagement and he wants to roam, give him back the ring, but never the stone.
Thank you, Corbett. Immediately after the show tonight, Corbett leaves on a tour. Kansas City, Chicago, St. Louis, Detroit, Cleveland, and New York, where he will look for work. Now, here are the 2 nicest words in country western music. Donna Fargo.
Thank you, Dean. You know, Zsa Zsa Gabor is a remarkable person.
But until tonight, I never knew just how remarkable she is. Like before the show this evening, I went into her dressing room to see if I could borrow some eyeshadow. And I learned something about Zsa Zsa that I never knew before. Zsa Zsa Gabor is a man. That's right. She's really Howard Cosell in drag. You notice how you never see them together. Now, I can see some of you are shocked at this revelation. But believe me, you're not half as shocked as Zsa Zsa's husbands are. In case you're wondering how she does it, she uses cosmetics from her own cosmetics firm, Zsa Zsa Limited. It's amazing what makeup can cover. Thank you, darling.
Thank you, darling. Oh, that was beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, Red Skelton needs no introduction. The reason he needs no introduction is because he's not here tonight. So we're stuck with Lonnie Shore. Ladies and gentlemen, Lonnie.
I ain't gonna cut your hair anymore. Aggie, you know what Dean didn't tell you is that originally I'm from a little town in North Carolina called Zebulon, and I was down there, that's true, and I was down there last week, and when the folks down there asked me what I was going to do on the Dean Martin show, I said I was going to help them roast Zsa Zsa. And they want to know if there's anything like catfish. I did, well, they don't really know too much. They said, what kind of bait do you use to catch a Zsa Zsa? I said, money. And when Dean invited me to appear on the dais, I decided to do some research on this lovely lady, and I found out that she wasn't always this lovely. No, it's true. Now, would you believe that I found this out from the only Hungarian that I ever knew? His name was Zoltan, and he is the proprietor of the Bontan Tonsorial Parlor in Zebulon, North Carolina. It's the only Hungarian in that whole area. It's true, and it turned out that he was from the same hometown that your family was from, and he knew Zsa Zsa and the rest of the family back in the old country before y'all came even, over here. And it was true. And as a matter of fact, he showed me, I don't know whether you knew this, but he's got a lot of pictures of you when you were growing up. And you can believe me, friend, she wasn't always this pretty. She doesn't. This is true. As a matter of fact, when she was a youngster, they had to tie a pork chop around her neck to get the dog to play with her. It's true. And then it had a bunch of progressive pictures, and then when I saw the next picture as a teenager, she looked so bad. I mean, she could have cooked naked in a lumber camp and nobody would have touched her. True, they get up there in the timberland. In fact, I mean, she had these red rings all over her chest where guys kept touching her with a 10-foot pole. Wait a that. But that, of course, was a long time ago and way back then. But as you can see now, and as we say down home, Miss Gabor, you sure did clean up good. Thank you.
When you talk about beautiful sisters, I guess everybody thinks immediately about the three glamorous Gabors, Zsa Zsa, Ava, and Magda. But believe it or not, there's a fourth gorgeous Gabor sister, and we flew her in tonight as a surprise for Zsa Zsa. Come on out, honey.
Hello, darlings. My name is Gladys Gabor. I used to think it was Ormsby because that's what my sister always called me. But then I looked Ormsby up in a Hungarian English dictionary and I discovered it means get lost, fish face. Zsa is truly a woman of many talents, and she's deeply interested in everything that goes on. You may think she's indifferent to world affairs. What Tommy rot. She's had affairs all over the world. They say my sister Zsa doesn't care about the little people in the world. Bourgeois. Name one other woman who would let Mickey Rooney hide under her in a rainstorm. And she's always, please hold it down, she has always... And she's always been kind to minority groups. Zsa makes it a practice at least once a week to take a millionaire to lunch. And she's taken a lot of them. And I remember the time she saw a hungry little girl begging in the street with her hand out. Zsa immediately stopped the limousine and read her palm. Free! Dave said my sister doesn't believe in freedom. Balderdash. Through divorces alone, she's freed almost as many people as Abraham Lincoln. So in conclusion, please hold it down. In conclusion, let me say my older sister Zsa doesn't know the meaning of the word avaricious. She doesn't know the meaning of the word vindictive. She doesn't know the meaning of the word vanity. She doesn't know the meaning of a lot of English words. But take away my sister's accent, we take away your flashy clothes, and what have you got? A naked Martha Mitchell!
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Buddy Hackett.
Este Kibano. Kes chocolom. Mikor embeset nagyanyo. Mikor?
Mikor most beszélsz.
Köszönöm. A lot of you don't know what I said and what she said. But many of us had it in Mexico. Zsa, I call her Zsa. I know her better than they know her. She's just a person in show business. Corbett, you took a few sharp raps at her, Corbett. Yeah, well, but it was funny. But it hurt me, because I know her a long time, and I love her, and I love her sister. I worked in Dogazni, Nejholna, Majrosag. I worked for 4 months in Hungary, and I looked up the Gabor family, and they were not poor people, but they did help their country, and they lived in Transylvania, which has a reputation that all vampires, bloodsuckers came from, but they weren't. Yes, they had the ability. But they didn't. No, they used their ability to go to the mountains for the poor people and suck coal out of the hills. The old mother sucked a ton a day. She was held up in an elevator. Yes, they took all her jewels. They took the necklace off her neck in 21 seconds, the ring off her finger in 13 seconds. Yes. And your diamond garter belt took 45 hours. Later on, she married the robber. The only reason you're here, that they say anything, is because everybody here is so filled up with love for you.
Ah!
Because that every man, you are the object of desire and fulfillment of every man. I know me, here, on television, in front of everybody, I would commit any kind of an act that was required of me. The prosecution roasts. Serious. Everybody talks, you know, all kind of ways, and like in Hungary, in Debrecen, in Győr, in Visegrad. It's all the same Hungary, but here, he talks one way. Now the guy talks this way from up in Vermont. Looks like a lobster got hold of his nose. It's different. They don't know what ja means. Ja is the Hungarian word for bosom, and that's why she's called Zsa-Zsa.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here's our lovely and exciting woman of the week, the glamorous Miss Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Before I start my little speech, I must say I'm very courageous. I never knew that roasting means this. But now I do. Anyhow, thank you, Dean. Dean, darling, I don't know how I missed marrying you. You're everything I'm looking for in a man. You're handsome, you're Italian, you're rich, and you're not so bright. Donald O'Connor, how lovely of you to remember that we were married once. I have completely forgotten it. Oh, such an unsuccessful night. I'm glad. I am very glad I came tonight because I had a chance to meet the only Gabor sister we never talk about, Rose Buzzy. Rosie, darling, you could never be a Gabor. You're much too insecure around man. She's the only... a burglar alarm on her pantyhose. Buddy Hackett, I really love you. But really, you surprised me very much tonight. It's the first time in my life that I heard you say 10 clean words in a row. Even though 9 of them were in Hungarian. So that night. Tonight you all possess high live. Thank God I'm not like the average housewife. Thank God. They're always bragging that they're great in the kitchen. Believe me, there are other rooms in the house I like to be great in. But seriously, it was fantastic being with you tonight because I only love bad men. And you guys, you are the worst. But I must say I'm grateful to all you funny people for roasting me tonight. Where would this world be without laughter? Tonight we found out.
I want to thank all my wonderful guests for being here tonight, and I want to especially thank our Lady of the Week, Zsa Zsa Gabor. You know, we kidded Zsa Zsa a lot tonight, but I must say she's a very proper girl. She doesn't care for a man's company unless he owns it. Good night, everybody. I'm on the way home, Catherine. Warm up the hot chocolate.